Did you know that in just a few years, the UK could face a crisis so big, it could completely alter your future? By 2025, new laws are set to reshape the country in ways you never imagined, putting your freedom, finances, and even your health at risk. Imagine this: tax hikes so high that small businesses could be forced to shut down, privacy invasions so intense that you might feel like you're constantly being watched, and skyrocketing living costs that leave you struggling to afford your basic needs. Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's all true, and it's coming for you faster than you think. The UK's new policies are about to make it harder than ever to live freely, prosper, or even survive. If you think you're safe, think again. First-time home buyers will be locked out of the property market, job losses will spike, and the cost of healthcare may leave you with nothing but long waiting lists. But here's the most shocking part: you might not be able to stop it. So what can you do to protect yourself and your future? In this video, we'll break down 10 shocking reasons why these new laws could destroy your life in 2025. Stay tuned, because the changes coming are bigger than you realize, and you need to know exactly how to prepare. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this. Number 1. Drastic changes to online privacy laws. In 2025, one of the most significant shifts will be in how the UK handles online privacy. The government is planning to implement stricter regulations that could massively affect your digital life. Imagine this: every search you make, website you visit, and even personal messages you send could be monitored and logged. These new laws aim to boost national security, but at what cost? Your personal data will be tracked in ways you've never seen before. Social media platforms, email providers, and even search engines will be forced to hand over your data to the government, with little to no transparency about how it's being used. The implications are huge for individuals and businesses alike. Small businesses that rely on customer data for marketing or service personalization might be forced to change how they operate. Consumers too will feel the pressure as online behavior becomes increasingly transparent. For the average citizen, this means a significant erosion of privacy. Imagine not being able to search for something online or communicate with friends without the fear that it could be recorded and analysed. So, what can you do to protect yourself? First, consider using encrypted communication apps like Signal or Telegram to ensure your private conversations stay secure. Additionally, VPNs, virtual private networks, can help mask your IP address and make it harder for anyone to track your online activity. As these changes approach, it's more important than ever to stay informed about your rights and take action to safeguard your privacy before it's too late. Number 2. Increased taxation on small businesses. If you're a small business owner in the UK, brace yourself for some tough years ahead. One of the most devastating aspects of the new laws coming into effect in 2025 is the sharp increase in business taxes. These changes could make it more difficult for small businesses to survive, thrive, or even stay afloat. Under the new regulations, corporate tax rates will rise, and additional taxes will be levied on businesses that exceed certain revenue thresholds. For many small entrepreneurs, this will mean paying significantly more in taxes each year, potentially eating into profits or driving up prices for consumers. This new tax structure will especially hurt small businesses with tight margins. For instance, businesses that rely heavily on labour or raw materials could face severe financial pressure due to the increase in operational costs. In fact, many might even be forced to lay off workers or reduce services to compensate for the additional tax burden. What does this mean for you? If you're a business owner, you'll need to rethink your strategies for cost reduction and profit maximization. Perhaps even more crucially, you'll need to explore ways to optimize your finances to offset the tax hike. Consider diversifying your income streams, cutting unnecessary overhead, or even outsourcing certain business functions to lower costs. For consumers, the price hikes are inevitable. If businesses are forced to pay more in taxes, they will likely pass those costs down to you through increased prices for products or services. This means your daily expenses will rise and your purchasing power could shrink as a result. Prepare now, because these tax changes will likely leave a lasting impact on both businesses and individuals in the UK. Number 3. Major changes to the education system. One of the most concerning impacts of the new laws in the UK is the overhaul of the education system. With the government pushing for major curriculum reforms, the way students are taught and assessed is set to undergo drastic changes by 2025. The new regulations aim to standardise education across the nation, but the downside is the narrowing of academic freedom and the reduction in the variety of learning methods available to students. Under these laws, schools may be forced to adopt a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, leaving little room for creativity, critical thinking, or personalised learning. This shift could limit students' ability to develop important life skills and innovative thinking, key qualities needed for success in an ever-evolving world. For students, this could mean less flexibility in their education. Subjects that don't fit the government's narrow framework might be pushed to the margins, leaving fewer opportunities for those interested in specialised or non-traditional fields. Arts, humanities, and creative courses might be at risk of being downsized or eliminated altogether. For parents, this raises serious concerns about the quality of education their children will receive. Will the new laws result in more standardised tests and higher pressures on students to perform at a specific level, rather than encouraging exploration and individual growth? To navigate these changes, parents and students alike must stay informed about these shifts and look for ways to supplement education. This could mean exploring online courses, extracurricular activities, or even alternative education systems that prioritise creativity and critical thinking. These changes in education are likely to impact not just today's students, but generations to come. It's crucial to be aware of how these laws could redefine the future of education. Number 4. Housing crisis worsens. The UK's housing crisis is set to spiral even further due to the upcoming changes in housing laws. By 2025, new zoning regulations and property taxes will make it even harder for ordinary citizens to buy homes, especially for first-time buyers. These laws will further drive up housing prices and restrict supply, leaving many people priced out of the market and pushing the dream of home ownership further out of reach. The changes will hit first-time buyers the hardest. With rising demand and fewer properties available, new home buyers will be forced to compete with property investors and large corporations who can afford to pay inflated prices. The result? A widening wealth gap where home ownership becomes increasingly reserved for the wealthy elite, while younger generations are left with few affordable options. To make matters worse, the new laws are expected to increase property taxes on homeowners, especially those who own multiple properties. This will put additional financial pressure on homeowners, causing some to sell their homes or rent them out at higher rates, further inflating the market. For renters, the situation isn't much better. With rising demand for rental properties, many people will face higher rents as landlords seek to cover the cost of increased taxes and property maintenance. The affordable housing sector will be hit hard, as social housing development becomes increasingly underfunded and restricted. So what can you do to protect yourself? If you're looking to buy a home, consider starting early and looking in areas outside major cities where prices may be lower. Alternatively, investing in property outside of urban centres may offer more affordable opportunities in the long run. The housing market in the UK is changing, and these new laws will make it even harder for the average person to succeed. Number 5. Universal Basic Income, UBI. Funding cuts. One of the most ambitious social programs, Universal Basic Income, UBI, could face drastic cuts under the new UK laws set to take effect in 2025. Originally designed to provide a financial safety net for all citizens, UBI is now at risk due to budget cuts and political shifts. If implemented, these cuts could leave millions without the financial support they've come to rely on. The idea behind UBI is simple. Everyone, regardless of employment status, would receive a guaranteed monthly payment to cover basic living expenses. In theory, this would reduce poverty, encourage economic stability, and allow people to pursue creative and entrepreneurial endeavours without the constant fear of financial ruin. But now, with the government facing rising costs and mounting debts, UBI could become one of the first programs to be slashed. This change could disproportionately affect the most vulnerable members of society, those already struggling with low-paying jobs, unstable employment, or no work at all. Without UBI, they could face even more hardship in the face of rising living costs and inflation. For workers, UBI was seen as a way to empower people to move away from menial jobs and pursue higher education or side projects. But with the potential cuts, the financial freedom that UBI offers will be taken away, trapping many in jobs they hate just to survive. So what can you do to prepare? Diversify your income, start a side hustle, or learn skills in industries that are less vulnerable to cuts. If the government cuts UBI, it's essential to ensure that you have multiple income streams to weather the storm. Number 6. Increase surveillance and control. In 2025, a major overhaul of the UK's surveillance laws will mean your every move, both online and offline, could be watched, tracked, and recorded. The new laws, designed to strengthen national security, will create an environment where privacy becomes a thing of the past, and you could find yourself under constant scrutiny without even knowing it. The government plans to implement widespread surveillance measures, including the use of facial recognition technology in public spaces, tracking your location through smartphones, and collecting data on your online behaviour. Essentially, every time you leave your home, shop for groceries, or even visit a website, your actions could be logged and analysed. This mass surveillance, while touted as a tool to combat crime, comes at a heavy cost: your personal privacy. For citizens, this raises serious concerns about freedom and security. What happens if that data falls into the wrong hands? How can we trust that this data will be used ethically and not manipulated for political gain? It opens up the potential for abuses of power and the erosion of individual freedoms. People may be reluctant to voice their opinions or express dissent, fearing government backlash based on their private data. So what can you do to protect your privacy in the face of growing surveillance? Start using encryption tools for your communications. Turn off location tracking on your phone, and be mindful of what you post online. Advocating for stronger privacy protections and supporting tech companies focused on data security will also be crucial in preserving your personal freedoms. The new surveillance laws may be inevitable, but the fight for privacy is far from over. Number 7. Major cuts to healthcare funding. In 2025, the UK's healthcare system could face its most significant financial cuts in decades, leaving the National Health Service, NHS, struggling to provide care to those who need it most. The government's decision to reduce funding for public healthcare is a direct result of budget constraints and shifting priorities, and it will affect millions of people across the country. These cuts will have a far-reaching impact on the quality of healthcare services. Waiting times for treatments will likely grow even longer, while staff shortages could worsen as the NHS is forced to reduce its workforce. With fewer resources available, routine procedures, specialist care, and even life-saving treatments might become harder to access, particularly for those who rely on the public system for care. But the cuts won't just affect patients. They will also place a strain on the healthcare professionals themselves. Nurses, doctors, and medical staff will likely face increased workloads, more stress, and the burnout that comes from working under resource-limited conditions. As the pressure mounts, many professionals may choose to leave the NHS, exacerbating the crisis. For those relying on the NHS for essential care, these changes could be devastating. If you're worried about the future of healthcare, it's time to consider alternative options. Private healthcare might be a viable option for those who can afford it, or exploring health insurance plans that offer coverage outside of the NHS might become more important than ever. Ultimately, if these funding cuts go through, Healthcare could become a luxury that only a select few can afford. Protect yourself by staying informed, exploring all your healthcare options, and considering long-term strategies to ensure you're not left without the care you need. Number 8. Job losses and unemployment rates soar. By 2025, one of the most alarming consequences of the new UK laws could be a sharp increase in unemployment. With changes in industry regulations, automation advancements, and global economic shifts, many workers may find themselves jobless or forced into lower-paying, less stable employment. As the government focuses on pushing forward with automation technologies in sectors like manufacturing, retail, and even services, a massive displacement of workers is likely to occur. Machines, artificial intelligence, AI, and robots are set to take over many jobs that were once handled by humans. While technology might improve efficiency, it could also leave thousands of employees without work. Moreover, the new laws could encourage businesses to outsource more roles abroad to save on operational costs, pushing even more UK workers out of the job market. In addition, with increased taxes on businesses, discussed earlier, many companies may choose to downsize or close altogether, leading to layoffs and fewer job opportunities for the general public. For many, this means struggling to find new work in an increasingly competitive job market. The job sectors hardest hit will likely be those that rely on routine, manual labour. This could leave younger workers without experience in high-skilled jobs at a time when they're just starting to build their careers. So how can you protect yourself from rising unemployment? Upskilling and learning new high-demand skills in industries like technology, healthcare, or digital marketing will be crucial. Flexibility and adaptability will be your best defense as the workforce undergoes major changes. Prepare now for a future where job security may be harder to come by. Number 9. Environmental regulations could crush small enterprises. In 2025, one of the most controversial changes will be the tightening of environmental regulations, which may seem like a step forward for the planet, but could have disastrous effects on small businesses. While large corporations can afford to implement costly sustainability measures, smaller businesses will be squeezed by new green laws that they simply cannot afford to comply with. The government is introducing stricter carbon emissions targets, waste management protocols, and eco-friendly production standards. While these laws are well-intentioned, they could be extremely difficult for small businesses to implement. Mom-and-pop shops, local producers, and startups may struggle with the high costs of retrofitting equipment, switching to sustainable materials, or adhering to complex environmental standards. For businesses in industries like manufacturing, construction, and retail, the financial burden could be crippling. Many will be forced to raise prices, pass the costs down to consumers, or worse, close their doors altogether. Additionally, the environmental laws could create a significant gap between large corporations with the financial resources to navigate these changes and small, family-owned businesses who don't have the same flexibility. The imbalance will create an even more concentrated market where only the largest players thrive while local enterprises suffer. So how can you prepare for this? If you own a small business, consider investing in eco-friendly alternatives now, so you're ahead of the curve. Look into government grants or incentives for sustainability initiatives that could help offset the cost. The key to surviving these regulatory changes will be finding ways to be both compliant and competitive in an increasingly eco-conscious marketplace. Number 10. Rise in living costs will push people into poverty. The cost of living in the UK is set to skyrocket in 2025 due to a combination of new government policies, rising inflation, and tax hikes, making everyday expenses even more unaffordable for millions of citizens. Whether it's the price of housing, energy, food, or transportation, the increase in living costs could force many families and individuals into poverty, drastically altering their quality of life. The government's new economic policies, designed to combat inflation and balance the national budget, may have unintended consequences. Wages will not keep pace with the rising costs of essential goods and services. The energy crisis will also continue to drive up prices for heating and electricity, leaving households struggling to afford the basics. In addition, new laws on taxation could further burden individuals and families, taking a larger portion of income just when people can least afford it. These changes, combined with stagnant wages and rising prices, will create an environment where basic survival becomes a challenge. For working-class families, this means a shrinking budget for everything from food to healthcare. As people are forced to spend more on everyday necessities, discretionary spending on leisure or education will become nearly impossible. This could result in greater social inequality, as the wealthier can weather the storm, while the poor face financial ruin. So what can you do to avoid being overwhelmed by rising costs? Start by focusing on budgeting effectively and cutting unnecessary expenses. It's also wise to increase your income, whether through side jobs, investing, or finding new ways to make money. The reality is, unless you take proactive steps, these rising costs could push many into financial hardship. So there you have it, 10 crucial reasons why the UK's economy is struggling compared to Germany. From the impacts of Brexit to the decline in manufacturing and the lack of innovation investment, these factors have compounded to put the UK in a tough spot. But understanding these challenges is the first step toward finding solutions. Now we want to hear from you. Do you agree with these reasons? Do you think there are other factors at play? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your insights. We've put a lot of effort into creating these videos to give you the most valuable and engaging content, and your feedback means the world to us. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, and it helps us bring more thought-provoking content straight to your feed. Stay tuned for more videos like this, where we dive into the big questions that shape our world. Thanks for watching.